Shalom. One of the highlights of the temple worship was Yom Kippur, the one time a year that Kohen Gadol went into the holiest of holies, Kodesh HaKodeshim. In fact, this worship is detailed in Vayikra, in chapter 16, and pretty much verbatim transferred into the Mishnah, describing step by step what the Kohen Gadol did at every step of the way. What is interesting, though, that there's one aspect that the Torah doesn't mention at all, but the Mishnah mentions once, twice, even three times. What are the people doing at the time? One reading Sefer Vayikra hears about the Kohen Gadol changing clothes, we're sacrificing this animal, sacrificing that animal, going here, doing that, eventually going into the holiest of holies in Kodesh HaKodeshim, bringing the incense in, taking it out. You hear many, many details what the Kohen does, step by step. No people are involved. Of course, there are people. He's atoning for the people. He's atoning for the sins of the people. It's Yom Kapara. It's Yom Kippurim. But there are no physical people standing there. We don't hear about anybody saying anything or looking at anything. And we transfer to the Mishnah and then to our Machzor. We hear a few things about the nation. First of all, you hear the nation are all standing there with bated breath. What's going to happen? Is it going to work? Is God going to be appeased? Second thing we hear is that whenever people heard the name of God, they all bowed down. And we enact that in our shuls. Whenever we get to V'kohanim v'am, hayu korim u'mishtachavim, we all suddenly flatten down on the floor, mimicking what happened in the temple. But I just want to take you there, to the place where people are waiting and listening and hearing. The Kohen is not alone. The Mikdash isn't Mikdash Hadmama, a silent space where no one is there except the one person. Perhaps inside that's the case. But outside, there are hordes of people hanging, waiting, anticipating, is this going to work? And whenever they get a glimpse of God, they bow down. Making this not a one-man show, but rather a meeting place for people with God. But I want to take you one more space. In the Torah, when the Kohen Gadol goes into Kodesh HaKodeshim, what does he do? He atones. In the Mishnah, when Kohen Gadol goes into Kodesh HaKodeshim, what does he do? He prays for the people of Israel. It's not a backwards action of repentance, but rather a forward action of asking for the future. And that change is a vital change. It changes the whole nature of Yom Kippur from a day of atonement to a day of future comfort, for future greatness, for a new Gzar Din, for a new decree, one that will be favorable to the people. The Kohen Gadol doesn't go to simply atone for the people, he goes to pray for the people. And Yom Kippur turns from a day of repentance to a day of slicha, to a day of kapara, to a day of a future Gzar Din, a day that God will favorably look at us. And that change of bringing us to the show, making us listen to the Kohen Gadol, waiting for us to hear and having a future, changes Yom Kippur from a day of soul searching to a day of hope. Shek Gmar Chatima Tova Lekulam.